Let it sing, baby! Whoa! What is up, boys and girls? Today, guess what we're doing, Matthew? Guess.
What are we doing?
We're actually working on another one of my cars again.
I can take a guess what we're doing.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't believe
What car?
it. I can't believe it's a car.
Show them.
And it's yours.
My AP1 S2000.
We're working on it.
I can't wait. All right, so for those of you who are familiar with my AP1 S2000 build, it is a mild all-motor build. It has a milled head. It has a spoon thinner head gasket, so static compression's around 11.8 or 12:1, somewhere in that vicinity. Brian Crower stage 2 cams, SuperTech titanium valve train, has a Jay's Racing header, full 70mm exhaust, has a Haltech Platinum Pro plug and play, some lightweight pulleys, a port matched intake manifold to a 70mm throttle body, or 75mm, I can't remember, skunk tooth throttle body. The setup was good for 230 at the wheels on a DynoJet STD correction factor. So here's the problem when it comes to very high volumetric efficient cylinder heads, is that the byproduct of that horsepower per liter is noise, and the S2000 is no exception. It is quite a noisy car. So when I was originally shopping for an exhaust, I went with an NVIDIA Q300 because it was advertised as the quietest 70mm exhaust for the S2000. Upon receiving the exhaust, I soon realized why it was the quietest 70mm exhaust, because it's not truly a 70mm exhaust, and I'll explain why in 1 second. The section after the catalytic converter is 70mm, and then as it splits for the white pipe here, this goes to 60mm into the mufflers and then out. Now, this exhaust is highly modified over the stock NVIDIA Q300. First off, I got rid of the little tiny bullet resonator that came in here, and I welded in an oval vibrant resonator that was set to be used. There's that. And then the real reason why this was a quiet exhaust is because inside the megaphone tips that come on it, they have those megaphone tips. I changed it to straight through Schedule 40. I don't know if you can see these on camera. But inside, the mufflers had built-in silencers. So if you remember the tuner exhaust where you can bolt in the silencer at the end and it has a little pea shooter restrictor on it that quiets them down, these come with it inside. It was a pipe that went into the inside here, and it would narrow down to less than 2 inches on my caliper. So what I did was I took a Dremel wheel with an extension, and I ground cutting disc down to about yay big, and I actually cut them out of the inside of the muffler. So first I chopped off the OEM tips because they're ugly and they exaggerate the noise. When it's a widening tip, it exaggerates the noise, making it louder. The reason why most exhausts are like this is because nobody really builds exhausts for performance. They build them for racers who are going to throw these on to their stock catalytic converter up, stock exhaust manifold, and they want to hear a sound increase. So if an exhaust gets a lot louder when it has the stock cat and the stock exhaust manifold in place, it's going to be super loud if you do a real header and a straight through cat. So an exhaust that barely raises any tone increase over OEM is good, because when you do go full exhaust, it will be the best for managing the sound. Now with the S2000, unfortunately, nobody really does that. And either that or they do it with a big compromise. So I cut those out because those would have been a major restriction, and then I welded on these Schedule 40 tips. Now these thicker stainless steel wall tips, being straight through, don't have the megaphone effect. And it was amazing because I ran this exhaust without the tips, and then I put the tips on, and I couldn't believe how much of a at the ear and inside the cabin difference it was. I mean, inside the cabin's one thing, right? Because you have the exhaust exiting now under the rear bumper, so you're gonna get more of that reverberation through the cabin. But from the outside, it got so much quieter just by actually adding the tips to these, because I did that part second. So This exhaust has served me well, but here's the caveat. It's a dual exhaust and it's heavy. So we're gonna put this on my scale shortly and we'll show the weights. What I got here, and some of you who are S2000 enthusiasts may recognize this exhaust and say, oh, you picked up an ASM exhaust, which is the supposed quietest 70mm single outlet exhaust for the S2000. It is actually not an ASM. This is a ASM Replica because the real ASM is discontinued. If I remember correctly, they were somewhere in the vicinity of $2,000, which is a lot of money for a single stainless steel exhaust. Ballade Sports has replicated this exhaust. I caught wind of this earlier in 2020. They said that it was going to be a limited run of 50 of these for 800 bucks. Smoking deal. It might have been 900, I don't remember. It was somewhere in that vicinity, but I thought that was a very fair price for this exhaust. They said they took a real ASM, they chopped it up, they copied the design, and they added a couple things to make it even quieter. Fair enough. It's worth a try, right? Single exhausts are half the weight of the dual exhaust. So for me, the S2000's biggest Achilles heel, because it's a wonderful, wonderful sports car, is that it's just too fat for a naturally aspirated 2 liter or 2.2. Either one, it's too heavy. It should have been like 2,400 pounds out of the box, but you know, hey Matthew, we don't live in a perfect world here.
No,
so I bought one. It actually just came this week. Took a little bit longer than what they originally had anticipated. So I'm going to try this exhaust. If I end up keeping this and running this, I'm going to sell my modified NVIDIA Q300. So if anybody's interested in that, you can DM me on Instagram. It's at Garage Quinn Motors. And I'll give you a price for it. I'll cut you a fair deal. Definitely save you money over reproducing it yourself. As far as this thing goes, so obviously, like we said, single exhaust are much quieter. The original ASM didn't have the Helmholtz resonator. I think this is only really good for like, it's supposed to reduce drum. That's the whole point of this like penile thing that sticks out of the side of it. But a lot of drone is introduced when you have a catalytic converter in the equation, which I no longer have. So I don't know if that's of any benefit to me, but it's on there, whatever. You can see the size of this resonator is bigger than the Vibrant unit that I put on, the NVIDIA. So I'm hoping that there's gonna be some volume there. And the fact that this oval muffler is a little bit fatter and a little bit longer than these ones, I'm hoping quiet this down as well too. This exits out the passenger side versus having an exhaust on the driver's and the passenger side. I think when it's passenger side only, it actually does reduce exhaust noise a little bit. But upon looking at this and giving it a once over, it's great that they use the double walled straight through stainless steel tip, no megaphone crap. But if you look in here, Matthew's gonna show you, you can see the tip is much bigger than the actual outlet of the muffler. So this is using the same exact internal silencer, and that's why this is gonna be quieter. So I can't chop this out because in order to chop that out, I would have to cut the tip off, and I'm not gonna do that. Two things, is that gonna kill a couple top end horsepower? Probably. How much? I don't really know. Maybe 2, 3 at most. Will this be quiet for a single exhaust? Yes, it should be, based on like how big the volume is for the muffler and the resonator, and the fact that it does have the internal silencer. You know, it may gain a little bit of mid-range and low end because it does add a little bit of back pressure, and like a natural aspirated 4-cylinder, you know, maybe could benefit a little bit from a little bit of back pressure. And this is the real battle and struggle with having naturally aspirated horsepower, is like it's balancing the noise, and it's not an easy task. So the nice thing is though, I'm guessing this is gonna be at least a 20-pound weight savings. And the last time I weighed the S2000, it was somewhere around 2,650 pounds, which is like not bad. That's over 100 pounds off over the OEM weight. I think it was 2,780 with stock. So that was pretty good. I mean, soft top and power motor and everything is gone. So that was like where most of that weight savings was. But it's up high, so there's the benefit of that too. The other thing I'm gonna make note of, and I don't know, you know, I guess I gotta say, for given the price of this exhaust, I didn't have high expectations. It did come dented, my resonator. There's a dent right here on the side, and there is a dent right here. So let this be known on the record. They're very small on the record, but in case I don't end up keeping this and I do sell this, this is how it came to me. And because this is a limited run, there's really not anything I could do about it. So I don't care because you're not gonna see that top one, and the side one you'll barely be able to see if you're looking under the car. Last but not least, Max, you take a quick walk over here. You can see my J's Racing header, and this goes to a T1R Racing. This is a resonated 70 millimeter test pipe. The resonator, there's really not actually much for like resonator material in here, but this does something as another added layer to reduce exhaust noise. Now, every time you have an expansion in the exhaust, it causes a little bit of reverberation, or reversion, sorry, and that disrupts the flow. You're gonna lose a little bit of power, but again, it's a balance of, I want this to be a street car. This is not a track car. It's a street car that I can go to the track with. So it's another little compromise in the setup to try to keep exhaust noise down. And I know there's a million arguments out there, oh, like run this, but I don't want to keep mucking around, and like sometimes it's not always all out noise, it's like in-cabin drone. That's the killer. It makes the car very unenjoyable, and it also beats you up. This setup that I had with the NVIDIA was actually very quiet for a all-motor, big cam S2000. Sounded good, and it was a good balance. The only caveat is if you get it really hot, when the mufflers get very hot, the packing material changes, and it does get a little bit boomier. But like if you're driving around on the street and in cooler conditions, pretty quiet for a full 70 millimeter exhaust S2000. So we'll see how the ASM unit does. On S2000s, personally, I always like single outlet exhaust better. I know it's got 2 cutouts in the bumper for a dual exhaust, but the singles always appeal to me a little bit more. So we're gonna throw this on. We cut the install in half because I'm not gonna show you guys how to install a stock S2000 exhaust. It's super easy. It shouldn't even require instruction if you take 2 seconds and look at it, but if you are confused, there's a gazillion videos on how to install an S2000 exhaust. So I think I covered everything, Matthew. Am I missing anything here?
You didn't miss anything.
Sweating.
How do you talk for 11 and a half minutes like that?
It's just like, I don't know, I'm sweating. So we're gonna throw the new one on, and we'll come back with some sound clips of the before and after. And that's it. That's my spiel on S2000 exhaust, and I hope that this taught you guys something, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
You know, I learned something in this video. I hope you did too.
I'm glad you did, Matthew. You know, that's the whole point. I want everybody to take away something in these videos, something that like we've learned or experienced, and like sharing that knowledge and like kind of sort through the noise that's out there on the internet, because everybody's got a different opinion about everything. But and we got to do the weights.
Yeah. Well, we weighed this
this is taking too long. This was 46 pounds on my postal scale.
Yeah.
Stock exhaust, I want to say, is about 55 pounds or so. So this one we're gonna have to do in 2 parts. Let's hope my math skills on camera are sufficient.
Pressure.
So the mid-pipe section is
Just over 12?
12.2.
12.2.
Okay? I think they advertise as a 22, but let's see. I know it's on
I doubt that section's lighter, right?
This feels actually heavier.
Yeah.
$14.8. So 12.2, 14.8, 15, 27 pounds.
Yep, 27 pounds.
So off of 46, we say?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, so 19
nice
pounds.
subtraction of weight.
Right? Is my math right here? 19 pounds? Not to look like an idiot in front of the world. Yeah, 19 pounds. So that's decent.
Yeah.
It's all these little things that accumulate that like drop pounds in a car like this. Ultimately, like I think 2,500 would be pretty awesome in an S2000, being realistic. But you know, this car, there's really not too much else I could take out. I'm not taking out AC. I'm not taking out the electric power steering, and I'm not taking out the radio. It retains all those because I do drive it on the street. And I'll tell you, like when we were coming back from Thompson, being able to listen to the radio and have air conditioning, which is something I can't do in my FD or my ITB Miata, especially now at almost 37 years old, I definitely appreciated that. And yeah, I do have seats, a seat project, which we're not gonna talk about, that like, got put on the back burner forever. But there could be some more potential weight savings there. But I think ultimately, realistically, this car could be around 2,600 pounds, like low 2,600 pound range, which is still not bad for an S2000 making 230 at the wheels. And if I do ITBs in a 2.4 bottom end, shit.
Get that extra jam.
That's right. So,
All right, let's put it on. All right.
So, one more quick thing. I'm wiping this down with isopropyl alcohol to get any greases and oils off of it. When this does heat up and start to color a little bit, anything that's oil based will leave nasty brown burn stains on it. So it may happen anyways, depending on the grade of the stainless, but I'm just trying to do it this way and doing my due diligence to prevent that. So,
in all honesty, I mean, look at this exhaust. It's still in good shape. You can tell you probably wiped it down for this one too.
Yeah, I really try not to touch, and like, if you really want to see some impressive, show them all the titanium exhausts on my motorcycles. Those look beautiful.
Oh yeah, I know.
And those I wipe down meticulously because titanium.
Yeah, and those are like, you can see those.
Yep.
Which one should I look at? The Ducati?
Ducati, Indian. And even the Michelin, they're all titanium now.
Yeah.
But also don't be discouraged because titanium heat colors much nicer than stainless. Stainless is not gonna heat
It's not
color.
gonna get blue like that.
Stainless can get blue. Like my J's Racing
Yeah.
Header has blue in it, but like it's just something about the properties of the metal. It just doesn't heat color like titanium does. So.
All right.
Okay.
To the install.
To the install, finally.
Dude, that looks so good.
Not too bad, buddy.
Hmm.
So, couple installation notes. They give you an extra exhaust hanger here, and the point of this is to bring this pipe down because it will make contact with the stub shaft for the diff and axle. So you kind of have to adjust this. There's a slot in the bracket. We kind of went with a happy medium, so it's like kind of in the middle.
Because it also gets close to this bracket too.
Because it also gets close to this bracket too. So it's a balancing act of like push and pull. And then other than that, we had everything hung and loose, and we adjusted this, pulled it out as far as we can go, where the slip fitting will still seal. And then before we tightened it, and we did this because I wanted the tip out as far as possible to try to eliminate exhaust boom in the cabin. So I think this is actually out a little bit farther now than what the NVIDIA tips were. It looks like it's out a little bit far. I didn't take measurements. This is not very scientific, but hopefully I have high hopes for this. I know it's going to be quiet, so we'll do a cold start video in a second because we're actually going to take this for a ride tonight, and we'll do exhaust noises for you. 3,000 RPM is typically where this car booms a lot, 3 to 3,500. It's not very drony. I get the tiniest bit. The exhaust is pretty hot because I was just doing back-to-back launches. It's louder than what it was when I first started it, but it's quiet. I want to say, you know, that little silencer thing inside the muffler tips, like, definitely attributes to this. Top end power does feel like maybe I lost just a little bit, but I mean, this is much more streetable for me. So I'm kind of like really happy with it. Now, also bear in mind, tonight's conditions suck for NA horsepower. It's
super humid.
It's humid as hell out. It's raining. I don't know if you guys could tell the ground is wet. That's why I'm getting so much wheel spin. And I got Matthew's fat butt. No, I'm just kidding, Matthew, you're not fat. But I have a passenger in the car. And let's face it, little 2-liter naturally aspirated 4 cylinders, you feel that passenger in the car. So.
I don't make Hondas faster.
But man, this is, I mean, this is way more street friendly. I could deal with this all day long. And then like, and in that case, like it's almost like worth it just to have that more street friendly setup. And the car will get faster with individual throttle bodies and a 2.4 bottom end, which is the end game for this car. It's just right now this setup works, and I don't want a broken sports car sitting around. Why fix something that's not broken, right? So, you know, this car is like not slow with the weight taken out of it and where the engine's at right now. Like, it's not a slow car. I mean, sure, it's slow by modern car standards, but for Canyon Carver, back road ripper, track day car, this is one of the most fun I've ever had on a racetrack was in this car. The Thompson video, if you guys haven't checked that out. It's just a wonderful, wonderful driver's machine. And the horsepower and the weight is like awesome on track. I had such a nice time driving this car. Best track experience ever, hands down. But I don't know, Matthew, I think I gotta give this, let's rate it on a 1 to 10. I'll give it a 9.
Yeah, for a naturally aspirated exhaust on a street car that's like, you know, 70 mil.
Yep.
Like,
now granted, they cheat at the end. They do the little reducer, but like, I'm gonna give it a 9 because I'm so much happier that my car is like quiet and doable. I will drive this car more now, strictly because this exhaust is that much quieter. That was one of the biggest things that deterred me from driving, is like I just didn't want to feel beat up in the car, and this is
it's comfortable right now
for an all motor. Oh yeah, I'm happy. I can't believe how much quieter this is. I was kind of bagging on Ballade initially because I just not seen anything that works that well. Again, I'm not thrilled about the reducer thing because I know a lot of the noise reduction comes from that, and I know that's why people do it. But you know, the reduction in drone, that's the formula. Big resonator, big muffler, and like you know, as much as I hate to say it, the little reducer thing, and it makes it that much better. So yeah, it's good. And like 3,000, this is the drone spot. I like to just like kind of putz around here when I'm driving normal, but it was always a challenge because it just induces so much drone and obnoxiousness. This, I got nothing. I'm almost tempted to get rid of that resonated test pipe, the T1R, because I know that that's disrupting his exhaust flow a little bit. This setup is so quiet, full catless, like I don't think I need that. I have a regular S2000 test pipe, so I'm almost tempted to throw it in there to see if that, you know, prevents a little bit of the reversion from happening when it goes into that expansion chamber too. So hey, I'm happy I bought this. I think I'm gonna keep it, and if anybody wants my Q300, it's definitely going up for sale, so DM me. I don't have anything else to say, Matthew. I don't know if you do.
No, I'm super jealous. Like, this car is a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be right now, just cruising around.
I know, and these are Recaro SRDs, like, it's just good. It's a good car.
Drive it more.
I love my S2000. Yeah,
you say that every time you drive it. You need to just,
because it is a good car.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to say this, guys. Like, I really do hate to say this, but as much as I love my ITB Miata and the blood, sweat, and tears I have in that thing, trying to develop it into like an S2000 competitor, nothing quite. This thing is just
the real thing.
This is the real thing.
Yeah.
It's the engine is like
so sweet in this car.
Yeah.
So that's it. I don't have anything else to say.
All right. You gonna do it? Done.
Done.